everyone. Welcome to Enjoy English. I'm Steven.
Hello, I am Bernice.
Today's date is October 14th, and for the next 2 days, please refer to pages 28 to 31 under Good Eats.
And also remember that today's lesson will be in English.
That's right. And today's title is Gelato's Journey from Florence to Your Spoon.
Wow, we're going to have a trip about ice cream.
Yeah.
We know that ice cream has always been a lot of people's favorite dessert.
Right, so what's the difference between gelato and ice cream? I guess we'll find out more about that.
Yes.
And the subtitle is An Italian Treat Enjoyed Around the World.
Treat also we can use dessert.
Yes.
D-E-S-S-E-R-T.
That is true. So let's get started.
Gelato's Journey from Florence to Your Spoon. Gelato is a delicious frozen treat from Italy. While people are not sure about its exact origin, the most popular theory is that a famous architect from Florence invented it in the 16th century. He was asked to prepare a feast for the visiting king of Spain, and he presented the king with the original form of gelato. In 1770, gelato was introduced to the United States. However, due to the later birth of the industrial ice cream industry, gelato didn't make its name until the late 20th century. Today, gelato has become popular across the world. Although gelato and ice cream share many of the same ingredients, such as milk, cream, and sugar, they actually have several differences. Gelato is much thicker than ice cream because gelato is made with more milk and less cream. Ice cream often includes egg yolks, while gelato does not. The process for making the two treats is also different. Ice cream is stirred more quickly to help air enter the mixture, which makes it light and fluffy. As for gelato, air is kept out during the mixing process, so it is smooth and creamy. Also, gelato is a better choice for those who want to eat healthily because it usually contains less fat than ice cream.
So, Bernice, earlier in the introduction, you mentioned dessert, D-E-S-S-E-R-T. The first thing I want to say is a lot of people get that mixed up with desert.
Oh, yeah.
Right? D-E-S-E-R-T.
S-E-R-T.
The best way to remember the difference between these two words is you want more dessert. You like ice cream, you like pie. So then you want more, so you add an extra S.
Yes,
right?
that's true.
D-E-S-S-E-R-T.
Yeah.
And we don't like the desert because, you might...
Too hot.
Yeah, and you will be very thirsty. So we don't want too many S's. So it's just one S. D-E-S-E-R-T.
Yeah, also the pronunciation is different.
Yes.
You say dessert for the sweet food and desert for the place that is very hot.
Yes, so that's a good way to differentiate between desert and dessert.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get started on the lesson. Gelato is a delicious frozen treat from Italy. All right, so the first thing that we want to talk about is delicious and frozen are both adjectives.
Yeah.
Right? When something is frozen, that means it's in the state of being like an ice cube or it's just harder, right? A liquid that is solidified is frozen. So when there are two adjectives, we usually put the one that is closest related to the noun, closer to the noun. So this treat is frozen, right? It just so happens to be delicious. So put delicious first and then frozen treat. Because I think when sometimes there might be more than one adjective, people might be confused. Which one do I put first? Right? So in the end, it's a frozen treat, but it just happens to be delicious. So delicious frozen treat.
Yeah. Also, frozen comes from another word, freeze. So when we say freeze and froze and frozen.
And also we see the word treat, which we saw in the subtitle of today's lesson.
Yeah.
So treat, what is that? When it's a noun, when it's something that is given to someone, it can be food, it can be a drink, it can be a form of entertainment. As long as it brings pleasure, as long as it makes you happy, it's a treat. So a lot of times you'll hear, oh, I'm giving you a treat. It's my treat.
Yeah, great.
That
Gentlemen,
means,
you have to remember this sentence. It's my treat.
Right, so that means that you are going to pay for this entertainment or this food or this drink for the other person.
Yeah.
All right, so that is what a treat means. Or if you have a pet, you might give your dog a treat if they're being good. Right, so that's always going to be something that makes you happy.
Yes.
All right. While people are not sure about its exact origin, the most popular theory is that a famous architect from Florence invented it in the 16th century.
Wow, it is a very, very long sentence. While here means although.
Right.
Okay, although not everyone knows that or make sure that where this kind of frozen treat comes from. But there's a theory we can say is a kind of acceptable story. Okay, it says that there's a very famous architect. Architect is the person who design the buildings or make the buildings from Florence, invented it.
Right. So what Bernice was doing, which will help you, it will help you not think that these sentences are so difficult to understand, is it's good to break it up. So actually the main sentence is, the most popular theory is that a famous architect from Florence invented it in the 16th century. It's just in the beginning, it's good to have that setting while people are not sure about its exact origin. So if you look at the sentences and break it up, it's going to make the meaning a lot easier to follow.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just look at it like all together, when you're still trying to learn English, it might be very overwhelming. All right. So here, while people are not certain or sure, so certain can be a substitute for sure, CERTAIN, and not being sure about something or not being certain about something just means that you don't know you don't know exactly like what it is or exactly when it is. And here we don't know exactly when gelato became famous. So that's why we use the adjective exact. We don't know about its exact origin. All right, so because whenever something is famous that comes from history, there's always going to be a lot of different ways of describing or trying to explain why this thing came about, right? So in this situation, they're saying the most popular theory, and as Bernice had mentioned before, a theory is like how you believe something came about, right? So how they believe that gelato came to Italy or became a delicious frozen treat in Italy. Maybe it was from a famous architect. And architects, as Bernice said, they design buildings and they also advise on how to construct these buildings. And then what an architect can do is architecture.
Yes.
All right. So you just add a U-R-E at the end of that. A-R-C-H-I-T-E-C-T-U-R-E. Architecture. All right. So let's continue. He was asked to prepare a feast for the visiting king of Spain, and he presented the king with the original form of gelato.
Oh, okay. So it's a story about a king. A king of Spain came from Spain, and he wants to visit it. He wants to visit this country. So this architect, he was asked to prepare a big meal, a very good meal, delicious meal for this king. So that's why he gave the king, what is that? The original form of gelato.
Right. So when you see original form of gelato, that just kind of means that the gelato in the past is quite different from the gelato now. Right. So that's why they are emphasizing the original form of gelato.
Yeah.
And then here we also see asked to prepare. When you're asked to do something, that means that somebody is requesting you to do something, right? So I'm going to ask Bernice to tell me how cool I am, right?
You're super cool.
Right. So I'm asking her to do that. Okay. So that's what asking or requesting someone to do something means. So what is a feast? It is a meal, but it's a meal that is very, very big. All right. And then we know the King of Spain is not from Italy, so he's visiting. So we're using visiting as an adjective here just to emphasize that he's coming from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And present, this verb, we know the noun present.
Yes.
It's spelled the same, but it's pronounced differently. So present is like when you give someone a gift, but present is when you're giving someone this thing or this gift. Okay.
Yeah.
In 1770, gelato was introduced to the United States.
Okay, so the United States would be the next country which can enjoy this frozen dessert.
Yes. However, due to the later birth of the industrial ice cream industry, gelato didn't make its name until the late 20th century.
Okay, so however, which means but, due to, we can also use because of the later birth of the industrial ice cream. Industrial is also an adjective to describe the ice cream industry. So gelato didn't make its name until, not until. When we use not until, which we can use it to emphasize that something doesn't happen before a certain point of time.
Right. And birth of something, obviously we always usually think it's like a mother giving birth to a child, but when it's the start of something, we can say also the birth of this thing, right? So in this situation, it's the birth of this ice cream industry. And that industrial adjective Bernice was talking about, it just is trying to describe a highly developed industry because we all know the ice cream industry makes a lot of money because everyone loves ice cream, right? So industrial is a good adjective to use there. Make one's name means that you become famous, right? So gelato didn't become famous until the late 20th century. Today, gelato has become popular across the world.
Okay, so right now in the whole world, everybody can enjoy this delicious treat.
Yeah, so today, it isn't really necessarily saying like today, like right now. Today is a good way to say like in recent years, right? So in recent years, gelato has become popular globally. That's another word that we can use, or all over the world. These are all different ways to say the same thing. Globally is spelled Globally.
Yeah.
Hey, let's take a short break.
Okay.
Although gelato and ice cream share many of the same ingredients, such as milk, cream, and sugar, they actually have several differences.
Right now, in the second paragraph, we're going to know the differences between ice cream and gelato.
Right. So remember when Bernice mentioned in the previous part, before we took a break, while people are not sure about its exact origin, Bernice said that you could use although. Right? So in this situation, we could use while instead of although. While gelato and ice cream share many of the same ingredients. So why I'm bringing this up is it's good to know different words to mean the same thing.
Yeah, that's
so then you can interchange them and use different words to start your sentences. So it's not always while, or although. It's good to learn these differences and know that some of these differences is just the word is different, but the meaning is the same, right? So then when I was reading the sentence, because I could take out the part such as milk, cream, and sugar, and it would be a complete sentence. Although gelato and ice cream share many of the same ingredients, they actually have several differences. But the author is just trying to emphasize, like bring more information about what kind of ingredients. So when I read it, I made my intonation a little lower so that it doesn't bring away from the sentence and confuse the listener, but it allows them to know that I'm just giving a little extra information. And writing, adding those commas is what helps the reader know that this is just extra information.
Yeah, that's true.
Let me read it one more time so you'll hear that. Although gelato and ice cream share many of the same ingredients, such as milk, cream, and sugar, they actually have several differences. So did you hear how I dipped a little bit? That will really help you when you're speaking English to help the listener know what you're trying to signify, what you're trying to describe. All right, let's continue. Gelato is much thicker than ice cream because gelato is made with more milk and less cream.
Oh, okay. So the first difference is gelato is much thicker, we can use even or a lot to describe thicker, okay, than ice cream. And the reason is because gelato is made with more milk, which means people put more milk when they make gelato, and less cream.
Right. So here, some people might be confused. Why couldn't you just say gelato is thicker than ice cream, right? Why is there a much? Actually, that would have been totally okay. That grammar is correct. But adding the much is just helping the reader know that it is a lot thicker.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so you could also say gelato is a lot thicker than ice cream, but here the author is just choosing to use much instead. So that's another way to kind of substitute different words, but to mean the same thing.
Yes, that's
right?
True.
Ice cream often includes egg yolks, while gelato does not.
Okay, here the while doesn't mean although. Right here, when we use while, use this to indicate the comparison of two different things. For example, you can say, okay, my sister is outgoing while I'm shy. So when we use while, it's kind of compare two different things right here.
So here you could not substitute it with although.
No.
Right? So even though we were trying to encourage you to use these different words, you also have to be aware that certain words might mean something different when it's in a different sentence. And the only way to kind of learn that is just to read more, listen more, try to use these words more. Sometimes, although I know tests are very important, we want everyone to get higher grades, but when there's something that isn't a test, why don't you just try to write, if you're not too sure, like give it a try and then ask your teacher, is this correct? Yeah. And then when you do that, you'll start to learn, oh, this is when it works, this is when it doesn't work. The good thing about any language when you're learning it is grammar doesn't change a lot. Once you learn the grammar, then it sticks. And then you don't have to worry about it always changing. But to get to that point of being familiar with grammar, it takes a lot of time and practice, but you'll get there. So I have faith in you. Okay. All right. The process for making the two treats is also different.
Yeah. So second, we're going to talk about how to make the two treats. They're also different. The process, which means how to do something for ice cream. Okay.
And I do like how this author is very clear about what direction we're going in. So everything before this sentence was talking about how gelato is different from ice cream and the way that it feels and the way that it's made, like the ingredients inside. But now we're going to talk about the process.
Yeah,
we're very clear in knowing that what's going to follow is going to be information that is regarding the process of making these two different treats. All right, so let's learn about that. Ice cream is stirred more quickly to help air enter the mixture, which makes it light and fluffy.
Yeah, so now we're going to talk about how to do ice cream. So when we do ice cream, we mix them, but we mix the ice cream more quickly, which means more quickly than making other kind of treats. And why? Why do we do that? Because we want to, which means in order to, we want to help air enter the mixture. The mixture will be the combination of a lot of different things.
Right. So here, pay attention to the verb stir. When stir is in the past tense, you add an extra R.
Yeah.
A lot of verbs have that. Not all verbs have that. A lot of times it's shorter verbs, like 3 to 4 letter verbs, but not always. So that's something also you just have to practice and see it. The more you see it, the more you'll have the memory of it, okay? Yeah. So when you stir it more quickly, it helps air enter the mixture. The sentence could have ended there, but they just want to add more information, which makes it light and fluffy. The it is talking about the ice cream. And sometimes we also see the word mix, and some people might be confused. When do I know when it's a mix or when it's a mixture, right? So when it's a mix, usually when you're putting these things together, the things that you're adding, the form of it doesn't change, all right? But mixture means that these things, when you're mixing it together, they all kind of like combine and they don't preserve their original shape. In this situation, like the cream and the egg yolk and all that stuff, like you can't see it anymore after you mix it together. That's why it's a mixture and not a mix. All right. As for gelato, air is kept out during the mixing process, so it is smooth and creamy.
Okay, as for, we can use another word about. About gelato, air is kept out, which means gelato contains less air than ice cream. So when we eat gelato, we feel it is smooth and creamy.
Right. And this sentence, I would like how it started because it's trying to contrast from the sentence before. Before, we were talking about ice cream and the process that it's made. As for gelato, it helps the reader know that now we're talking about gelato. Like on the other hand, right? And as for gelato, you could also say when it comes to gelato, right? Air is kept out. You could also say is left out during the mixing process. Why? So it is smooth and creamy. Also, gelato is a better choice for those who want to eat healthily because it usually contains less fat than ice cream.
Oh, okay. So this is very good for the people who thinks that health is very important. So if the people, those, which means those people, if they want to eat healthily, usually we use adverb to describe verb. So healthily comes from healthy. Okay, so healthily, eat healthily to describe the eat. So people, if they want to, eat healthily, eat healthy food, they can try to eat gelato.
Right. So as Bernice mentioned, those is talking about people, right? So you could replace those in the sentence with the word people, such as, also, gelato is a better choice for people, right? And what kind of people? People who want to eat healthily. So the way I'm breaking up that sentence helps you know what that who is talking about.
Yes.
But then if you look at those and you don't know that the author is trying to signify people, it might be confusing, right? But sometimes we do use the word those to talk about people because the reader and the listener usually can assume that is what we're talking about, like people in general, okay? So gelato is a better choice for people who want to eat healthily and because it usually contains less fat than ice cream. And I like how that usually is thrown in there because not every brand is going to be healthier than ice cream. So it kind of is leaving a little room for that kind of, like difference. Sometimes it's not always going to be the case.
Yes.
Right. So tomorrow we're going to learn more about gelato. So we hope to see you then.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.